Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's Take30. It's another BI session, and we're going to be focused on natural language query. And today's agenda, we are going to do introductions. Then I will talk a bit about what natural language query is, and then we'll take a tour through some of the industry-leading vendor tools that we work with: Tableau, Power BI, Cognos Analytics, and Quicksite. And then we'll open it up for questions at the end. But certainly as we go through, ask questions, and we will ask your questions in the question box, and we'll record those, and they'll ask them at the end. All right, with that, let us proceed. Okay, so first a reminder of upcoming events. So today, December 3rd, we're focused on natural language query. Next week, we'll be focused on design sprints, how to reduce risk and drive adoption through the use of design thinking. That will be our last session for the year, as we expect most folks are taking well-deserved PTO in this most interesting of years. Just a mention of our Take30 one-to-one series. If you're interested in talking to Ironside about just about any topic related to analytics, go to that. Send an email to that address, or go to our homepage, click on the link, and sign up for a time. All right. So let me introduce the team. So I'll do myself first. So Scott Masage, I'm the practice director for BI at Ironside, been here for over 8 years. And let me turn it over to Catherine.
Hi, I'm Catherine Wood. I'm a technical consultant. I've been here for about 4.5 years. I've focused mainly on BI report dashboard development, and lately my focus has been on Tableau.
All right, so Ursula is actually just in the process of joining. I'll do the intro for her. So Ursula is a senior technical consultant on my team. Has past experiences at Cognos and at IBM, and joined us several years ago. That's Ursula.
Hi.
So Michael, if you're on the call, you can introduce yourself.
Yeah. Hi, my name's Michael Palmer. My picture is obviously not up here. I'm a senior BI consultant, years of experience with Cognos, Power BI, and Tableau.
Hi there. Yeah, John Fellner. I'm an engagement manager. I've been here probably about 9 years, and I've worked with all three of these tools quite extensively. So I'm looking forward to seeing the comparison between the three.
All right, great. Thank you. All right, so I wanted to start us off with a discussion about what natural language query is. So the way I define it is the ability to use natural language expressions to discover and understand data, and accelerate the process of finding answers that data can provide. Another way to think about it would be a translation mechanism that helps bridge the gap between non-technical users who don't understand, which database has the data, which table to look in, what field to look in, all of that, and the data sources themselves. And the typical, almost the prototypical kind of question style is much like your natural language. So an example might be how many customers purchase both meat and dairy products, say in the supermarket. And the idea is that the tool would respond and give you answers and visualizations that answer that question, or at least help you on the path to finding it. So just a little bit of an industry perspective. So back in 2017, Gartner, as they often do, made a number of different predictions and planning assumptions for those who engage in data and analytics. And they said by 2020, half of all analytics queries will be generated using search, natural language processing, or voice, or will be auto-generated. And certainly we have seen all of the leading vendors in the analytics space adding functionality like this. I don't know if I'd agree that I don't know if this prediction has come true. There is a fair amount of it. I don't know if, literally half. But I think, as we go, as these tools mature, many of them have had this functionality for 2 years. But as we see it mature, it's getting better and better, right? And it's leading to better answers, both literally in the sense of the tool, but also for business users. And then the last thing I'll say is another statement from Gardner is, and this is the whole point, augmented analytics, into which natural language query falls into, will enable better, easier interactions with analytics tools by pushing more of the analytics workload away from the user and over to the machine, right? So it's a simpler interaction for the user. The path to their answer is shorter and more and quicker. All right. So with that, I will turn things over to Catherine to talk about Tableau, and our approach here is going to be to talk a bit about the tool, and then I'll hand it over to Catherine and she'll do a quick demo, and we'll do the same for Power BI and Cognizant Analytics.
Thanks, Scott. So Tableau's feature is called Ask Data. This was released in version 2019.1, which was in February 2019, so it's almost 2 years old at this point. And it allows users to converse with their data. So what you do is you navigate to the data source in Tableau Online or Tableau Server. Those are the only two instances that it's available in right now. And there's a free-form text box. You type your question in, and Tableau will answer that question in the form of an automatically generated visualization. So it leverages the Show Me function in Tableau Desktop today to give you the best visualization for what you're asking. And what it does is it reduces the need to manually drag and drop fields, understand your data. So it's the perfect solution for users who might need quick answers but don't have time to build the calculations, or maybe don't understand how to do that. So it's a really big convenient factor as well. Ask Data will also offer suggestions to refine your questions as you're typing. So you might type in profit over time, and instead Ask Data will suggest, are you really looking for the sum of profit by order date year? So it helps you refine your question to get that specific answer that you're looking for. And then something else that's really nice about it is for the specific data source owner and Tableau administrators, Ask Data provides a dashboard that gives you the most popular queries and fields that people are using with that feature, like with Ask Data in that data source, the number of visualization results that users clicked, and that way you can understand the habits and behaviors of your users. And you can also identify if there's a reporting gap that you need to fill. Like if people are always querying, what are my top 5 products year over year, maybe that should be developed as a standard report. So now I will give a quick demo of how Ask Data actually works in Tableau. So what you can do here is there's a free-form text box here that you can start asking your questions, and Tableau will also offer suggested questions. So in this case, there are some top metrics that people are looking at, sum of sales, profit ratio by region. It'll give you options for geographic analysis, sales over time. So it'll just suggest things that maybe you want to look in if you don't have something specific that you're looking for at the time. And it also offers the ability to add synonyms. So if I hover over customer name, you can see that synonyms client is listed. So maybe some people in your organization refer to customers as clients. So if I go here and to Ask Data and type in client, it'll automatically detect that what I'm really looking for is the customer name field. So let's say we want to look at sales by category. If I type this in, you can see it suggests sum of sales by category. So once you click on this, it will automatically generate a visualization that gives you your sum of sales by category in the form of a bar chart. If you want to customize the visualization, you could type in as a pie chart. And you'll see that it automatically updates here. So you can type that in, or you can click this drop down here, and it'll give you the other options that you have for visualizations to look at. Now, let's say we want to look at this over time. So if you just type in over time, it will suggest, do you want to look at this by order date year? So you can click that. It gives you a breakout at as a bar chart. But if I remove this option as a bar chart, you can now view it as a line chart. And again, you can change how you're viewing that. And you can even filter more specifically. So say I just want to look in the most recent year, I could type in 2018 and filter here to order date in 2018. And I can even change this here to, instead of viewing it by year, I can change this to view by month, click accept, and it updates here. Now, say this is something that I want to keep and use later on. I can just create a new sheet and later save this whole workbook as a dashboard, and I can share that with other users. And I just want to highlight the geographic analysis available as well. So if I want to look at something like total customers by state, it'll give me a couple options. And what I want to look at is exactly how many unique customers I have in each state. So if I click on this, you'll see that it automatically generates a map here for me. Your legend is here. And you can see just quickly at a glance that most of my customers are in California. And if you want to refine this further, say you're specifically interested in the furniture line of your products, you can type in furniture and it will identify that that is a field that belongs to category. So if I click on this, it'll filter it specifically to furniture. And again, you can keep filtering your data by clicking on the items that are highlighted or underlined. And I could switch this to office supplies instead if I wanted to. And then the last feature I wanted to highlight is the top 10, bottom 10 options that Ask Data offers. So this is a suggested question, so I'm just going to click here, but you could also type that in here. And you can flip between, if I switch this to a tree map, it'll show me only my true top 10. And then you can filter this here to top 10. I can switch it to bottom 10. I could change the measure that it's being aggregated and ranked at. I could change how I'm viewing it, whether it's by product name, by region, whatever it might be. So it really allows you to start looking into a question and then customize and refine that query further based on the fields that are available in your data. So that was just a quick high-level overview of Ask Data, and now I will pass it back to Scott, and John is going to go over Power BI's Q&A feature.
So Power BI is very similar to Tableau when it comes to Q&A, and so it does let you explore your data by asking it questions. I use it a lot just for kind of data mining, right? If you've got your data set published, whether or not you want to visualize it, you can just ask it a simple question and it will return an answer for you, as long as you provide the proper context. So some of the examples here are, for example, like what customer has the highest sales for last year, show me the top 10 products for customer X in 2018. When you can also specify the chart type, which I think Catherine showed in Tableau. So, you know, sales over time for new stores in region 1 as a line chart. So what it'll do is it'll suggest different visualizations based on what it thinks is best. It'll also suggest standard questions. You can also convert that visual into a standard visual after you've configured it the way that you want it. So if you were building a dashboard, for example, after you've run through the Q&A, you can actually convert it to a standard visual. And there's also a bunch of tooling and options to actually do a little machine learning and teach it how to understand different terms and different questions. So I'm going to show you that feature as well. Okay, so yeah, it allows you to, I'm going to demonstrate this in a little bit, but there's actually a new feature that will review questions that other people have submitted. So if you turn this feature on for people and they start submitting, they start typing in questions, it will capture those up in the Power BI service, and you can actually look at those and figure out which ones are the most popular, and then provide those kind of priority list and put them up to the top of the list. So this kind of has additional sort of machine learning and crowdsourcing, if you will, aspects to it. And I think that's a nice feature, probably similar to what a Google would do when, you know, they capture the most popular search terms and the most search phrases, and they drop those things down for you. So this has the ability kind of learn what your user community is asking of your data, which I think is great. Okay, so this is just a screenshot of what things are going to look like, but let me kind of jump over to the demo, and I got to switch screens here. Okay, So if you're familiar with Power BI Desktop, this is what it looks like. And there's a visual type called Q&A. So if I click on Q&A, it'll bring in a Q&A visual box. And you can see already it's starting to suggest standard questions. So it's taking a guess at what some of these are. If I click on them, it will try to render something. Word of caution though, it doesn't always render what you think it's going to. It all depends on knowing your data, which is really the most important thing here anyway. But if I start typing, I can say, units sold. And as soon as I do that, you'll notice it presents me with a single number. So it's already thinking ahead for me, or it's thinking of what I might want to do. So it's presenting a single number in this case. But if I say, well, I want units sold by product, okay, now it's got to jump to a different type of visualization, which is a bar chart, right? So it's going through my entire data set and it's looking at units sold by product. If I want to further continue that, but maybe instead of by product, I want to say units sold by date. Again, it's all dependent on how good my data set is. Looks like I've got 5 discrete dates in this data set. And age bucket is another one that I spelled it wrong, and it actually kind of highlights that. It doesn't recognize this term. So it'll allow me to kind of change that or redefine it. But if it finds the term that I was supposed to type in, age, right? So it's got some intelligence built into it. And if I say as a stacked column, my keyboard's not really cooperating today. The machine's more intelligent than me. So it can actually do the chart type thing that Catherine was showing you earlier. One other quick thing, I'm gonna show you I want to leave Ursula some time here. I want to show you kind of real quick here the way to train it. For example, the field synonyms. You can turn on and off any of your data that you want to, but you can actually also define things. So for example, if the term net sales is all that I have here, but I want to add something like revenue, right? So it'll basically make a synonym that if somebody types in revenue, it knows to pull the field net sales. And it'll also make other suggestions like, oh, well, maybe you want income because that's a common term, right? And it's not even in my data set, but it's something that I decided, hey, if people type this in, we want it to be recognized as net sales. So you can totally configure the question set that people are allowed to ask, turn things on and off. The other pieces I mentioned I'm not going to demo those because we don't have this isn't a shared data set, but again, if other people had sent in questions, you could populate that, you could put those here and prioritize them. You can teach Q&A by typing in sample questions to help the model learn rather than let the robot do it. So and then you can also manage terms, which I've already added some terms, but I could add additional terms of my own that weren't necessarily suggested and tie them to a specific field in the data set. So in the interest of time, I think that's probably enough, and I will pass this back over to Scott and then have Ursula do her Cognos demo.
All right, thank you, John. Okay, Ursula, why don't you go ahead?
Thanks, Scott. So I'll be talking about the AI assistant, which is part of Cognos Analytics that was introduced in version 11.1. It uses natural language processing to conversate and generate visualizations that can be used with explorations, dashboards, and stories. So examples of the natural language processing as far as queries are concerned are show product by line, what is the average revenue, where quantity is less than 1,000, who are my top 10 retailers by gross profit. So very similar to what Tableau and Power BI provide. Unfortunately, or fortunately, the tool only works with English language now, so maybe in future iterations of the product, it will allow for using other types of languages. So in my demo, I will be creating some natural language statements and questions regarding aggregations, counts. I'm going to generate an error. I'm going to show you the conversation history, create a little dashboard, and then the demo. All right, so I will be demonstrating the AI assistant using dashboards. As I mentioned earlier, you can use it in stories, explorations, and dashboards. So I'm going to use the dashboards in my example. I am using the sample data module demo for the demonstration. This data provides sales data for the Great Outdoors Company. So on the left tool navigation bar, you'll see a little icon here. This is called the assistant. This is how you invoke it. And once it is invoked at the bottom, you will get a text box that allows you to enter your queries to interrogate the data. So the first thing I'm going to enter is a statement, and I'm interested in knowing the product lines by revenue. So I will type in show product line by, and what you will notice is that as I begin to type, the AI assistant gives suggestions as to what I may want to see. And it also gives the correct syntax, so you don't have any issues with typing in incorrect information. I do know that I want to see show product line by revenue, so I'll continue to type. Hit enter. It'll go out and generate a nice visualization for me based on the data. Where'd it go? Let me try that again. Show product line by revenue. Oh, there it is. So it's showing a really cool bar chart here. And if you would like to change the chart at the top, it provides different visualizations to choose from that represent that data in the best possible way. Now, the first, what I did was I entered a statement. So now I'm going to enter a question. I would like to know what is the average revenue where quantity is less than 1,000. So here I can enter what is the average, spell right, revenue where the quantity is less than 1,000. So you notice here that I did use an aggregation here and also an expression. And I typed in the number 1,000, but you can also type in the words 1,000. So hit enter here. And again, it'll go out and generate a nice chart. And this is a summary chart which says the average is $16,000. You can also use counts. So I want to know how many retailers are in province and state. So I can just enter how many retailers in province or state, which is the name of the field. And the many represents count, so it knows that. So it'll go out and create a nice little chart to give me the counts. I can change the visualization to a word cloud. And I will select, say, California, and the little pop-up will show me that I have 16 distinct retailers in California. You can also filter data using adjectives like top or bottom. So maybe I want to see the top 10 retailers regarding gross profit. So I can type in who are the top 10 retailers. It's kind of slow, by gross profit. And it'll generate a nice visualization with the top 10 retailers. So far I've been just using one measure, but you can interrogate using more than one measure. So perhaps I want to see the product line by revenue and gross profit. So I will type a statement that says show product line by revenue. And I'll type gross profit just to show you what happens if you don't use correct syntax. It's like, can't type. Okay. So what you'll notice on the chart is that only gross profit shows up. And that's because it wasn't syntactically written correctly. So you can hit shift on your keyboard and the up arrow, and it will show you the last questions or statements you used to interrogate the data. I'm going to edit my statement and add the word "and" in here, and I'll hit enter, and I'll come up with the correct chart where it shows the revenue and the gross profit. And the last thing that I would like to show is how you can create like synonyms for your data. So maybe perhaps in my world, I refer to revenue as rev. So if I type in show rev by product line and hit enter. So I would get a statement by the AI assistant that states, identifying column rev in any data sources. You can associate rev with a column name by typing rev means column name. So I would type rev means revenue. Hit enter. And it'll go out and create that chart. And if I use this data module again, I could still use the word rev in my statements. So you'll notice that as I have been interrogating the data and generating these nice visualizations, you can scroll through the conversation history, and then I can take these charts and just drag them into the layout here to create a dashboard. Okay, so I'll drag, looks like I'm losing a little memory here. So I'll drag these over. There we go. And from here, you can use the dashboard application to edit, make your charts look a little nicer, and then present them, you know, in a presentation of some sort. Okay, so I'm having a little problem dragging there. But this is, so this is basically how you would use a natural language querying with the AI assistant. It's really fun and cool, and really cool. It will be a really cool tool to use for like novice users as well as advanced users. So I will end the demo here and pass it over to Scott for query and questions.
All right, thanks very much. All right, so in the interest of time, I'm going to forgo the questions, but I do want to cover off on one more item here. So I wanted to talk about Amazon Quicksite and the introduction of a new natural language feature called Amazon Q, or sorry, Quicksite Q. So this was actually just introduced on Monday of this week in Andy Jassy's keynote at reInvent. There is if you Google Quicksite Q, you can find a page that allows you to sign up for a private preview if you have Quicksite. So just a quick walkthrough of the functionality. It has the same natural language query functionality as many of the tools you've just seen, where you can ask natural language questions and be directed towards information, right? But in addition, as you saw some of these tools have, you have the ability to add friendly names and synonyms, as well as descriptions to improve Q's answers. And Amazon or Quicksite Q also introduces a new feature called topics. So topics would be something like sales performance, and you as an author can add dashboards to that topic, data sets to that topic, such that you can also search on the topic. So if I'm interested in sales performance, I might type in sales performance, and a range of different data sets that would be helpful to me in answering sales performance questions will show up. In addition, much like Power BI, you can see the questions that users are asking. You can see how Q answered the question, and you have the ability to improve upon the answers. So again, it's very much, even in the first release of this functionality for Quicksite, it's a very rich feature. Okay, so with that, you know, again, we're over, so I'm going to forgo the questions, but thank you very much for joining us today. Again, we've got one more session on design sprints next week, and then we are going to curtail them for the year. So hopefully we'll talk to you next week. Thank you very much for the time.